Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is your boy Hazzed, and today we're going to be going over rotation. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do it, how to make it just almost thoughtless. So I'm going to teach you the trick to that for Frost DK, and let's jump into this. Well, let's burst into this. Alright guys, so here we're going to talk about the Frost DK rotation. This is just a basic rotation. Now I don't like to use the word rotation because it's easier in my mind to think of it as a priority system. Basically, what do you want to do? You want to make sure you have your dots on the target because you are going to use Plague Leech a couple times even before you set up for a burst because it's only on a 25-second cooldown. Now we're going to play both dots and we're going to use our obliterates. Now use obliterates over frost strikes. Now if you have a howling blast proc, you always throw that. Now if you have a frost strike and a long cooldown on obliterates, use the frost strikes and then go back to obliterates. So basically obliterates over frost strikes, howling blast proc, that's free because it's free, and then once you are absolutely starved and don't have any attacks is when you use Plague Leech to enhance your normal damage. And so far, I've been pretty lucky with procs that I haven't had any downtime. Like, we've had straight DPS through this. This is amazing uptime. And there's Plague Leech finally that we need, but we don't have Disease up because that took so long. There's Plague Leech, and it just enhanced our RD. See, it filled that gap. It filled that priority system gap. And I just keep on doing it. Use obliterates over frost strikes, wait for the obliterate, and then free howling blast, and then frost strike again, because howling blast is down. It's not that hard of a rotation, and of course you can throw in icy chains as like an opener or something and just have it as a filler, because chances are you will get a frost strike proc which lets you fill up that obliterate that you lost with that one rune, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah guys, basically that's it for a basic rotation. Let's jump over to burst. So here's the cool thing about burst, guys, on a Frost DK. We technically have two different bursts we're going to use at different times, one weaker than the other and one stronger, of course, with our trinkets. And of course, since Breath of Sindragosa is on a 2-minute cooldown, we're of course going to burst with that. So how do we set those up? Well, basically right here, this is going to be a regular burst without Breath of Sindragosa, where we do our normal rotation, but this is going to be how we burst. We set up for it. Yeah, you don't want to use frost strikes. We're building runic power. You want full runic power for burst. Boom, we're ready for burst. What are we going to do? We're going to use our burst macro, which is /use PvP trinket, and then /use Pillar of Frost. The other thing we can do is wait for our runes to also come off cooldown a bit, or we can keep applying a pressure to get their health lower before the burst. We can do either one. Right now I'm going to wait for the runes. Now I'm going to use cooldowns. And basically using a mini obliterates, free howling blast, mini obliterates as possible, and then frost striking, and then switching back over to obliterates again. And once I can't obliterate, that's when I'm going to use Plague Leech during my burst to get off more howling blast and getting off more obliterates. It's the same rotation, same priority system as we talked about before, guys. And that is the one you use every minute with Pillar of Frost and your PvP trinkets. Now, let's talk about the Breath of Sindragosa burst / macro we have on here that we came up with, which is pretty sick. So let's jump over to that. Now, we're going for full burst this time. This is the burst that comes up every 2 minutes with Sindragosa, and we're going to throw that in there. Now, the other thing is Empower Rune Weapon comes up every 5 minutes, so that's even a longer, but you do get it once, usually. In Arena, of course, it resets, and VGs, when you go in, you're usually going to get it, so you usually blow something up, once or twice, 3 times maybe in BGs, so you got to use that kind of more sparingly, but I'm going to use it right now to enhance the Sindragosa burst, so let's do this. Here comes the Sindragosa burst. Now, I notice a lot of people are focusing on setting this up way too soon, like, after the first stun, they're like, yeah, I'm stacking runic power. This is the first stun, they trinket it, I'm already saving runic power, I'm not using runic power, I'm setting up for the Sindragosa burst right now. And they're just normally rotation, but they're not using frost strikes. That's a problem, guys, because frost strikes are coming where our healing's from, and that is a problem with our consistency. The thing is, with Sindragosa burst, you really don't want to set up for it until about maybe 10 seconds before your second stun, especially if you're dueling. But once you do that, you want to wait, those about 8 seconds, 8-10 seconds for your runes to come off cooldown. And then once they do, that's when you're going to make sure you have 100% runic power. And then that's when you're going to Syndra Burst, like right now. So let's show you how to Syndra Burst. Now with the burst macro that we have, which is completely OP, I'm going to use it right now. Now one thing you want to do, you do want to make sure you have, you know, your diseases on the target to Plague Leech. That's going to enhance it. Now, I'm the Syndra bursting right here. So basically I have an Obliterate buff. Here comes the burst. We have 100 runic power, and there it is. We're using the macro. Look at the Obliterates. Now that we're stuck without Obliterates, I'm using Plague Leech. Now I'm going to use Empowered Rune Weapon. Just keep hitting the macro. You got to keep hitting the macro while you're using these things to keep it going. Just look at that. That was a lot of damage and a lot of burst. You can keep this thing going for a long time if you do that correctly and you're getting good procs and everything's lining up. Now that usually one-shots just about anything. It's pretty ridiculous, especially if you time that with a second stun. Especially after Trinket. If they ain't got any way out of the stun, it's GG, guys. So, yes, that is the big burst we have with the Syndra.